approval of the text amendment by a vote of 5-0 with 2 absences. The Department of Planning and Development recommends approval of the same, and I'll pause there to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions from council?
Yeah, Jason, you say that there's it's going to set performance standards. Can you explain a little bit what those are?
Yes, ma'am. So that's in terms of the actual use. So meaning that it is limited to Block C as proposed, meaning that it has to be designed in a way that is consistent with not only the design guidelines, but also the architectural standards for Entrada, and then general upkeep and operation, so making sure none of the activities that they flow out onto the streets.
So the building permit or the SUP has expired for this. If we approve this tonight, will they have to reapply for a building permit, or is that going to the former one will carry over?
The former one won't carry over, but the text amendment, it would carry over, and so they would be designing the building and submitting their permits in accordance with it.
Okay, so there would be a new permit.
Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry that I misunderstood. No, yes, ma'am.
Thanks.
Any other questions from council? Does the applicant wish to speak? No further comments? Any questions from council? I think we get a motion to approve. Oh, I'm sorry. Open a public hearing. Man, it's been one of those days. Open a public hearing. I now open the public hearing. Is there anyone that wishes to speak regarding this item? Thank you. I now close the public hearing. Can I get a motion to approve ordinance 1039?
So moved.
Can I get a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Regular agenda, and for those who are here for the school meeting, we're going to get through this as quick as possible to get to the meeting, so we apologize. Agenda item G, regular agenda items. G1, discuss, consider, and act regarding ordinance 1037, approving amendments to the Town of Westlake utility rates. Casey, how are you?
Hi there. Good evening, all. All right. This next agenda item is just a continuation of the action from October, whenever we had our consultant here to present the water sewer rate study. And so what we are asking council to adopt tonight is an ordinance that will enact a change in our tier structure only on the water's volumetric rate side. There's no proposed changes to base fees or any volumetric sewer charges. These effects would happen as of January 1, so everyone would start seeing that on their January bill. Do we have any questions on our proposed rate changes?
Just remind me, maybe I'm the only one who doesn't remember what the volumetric change was. 40,000 gallons. Where are we going to now?
So we were changing the tiers. The tiers that were in place on the volumetric water rates were from 0 to 2, 2 to 25, 25 to 40, and then 40 to 100, 100 to 400. And so what we are doing is we're getting rid of that 100 to 400 and just saying anything over 100,000 gallons that are used in a month, they all get charged the same rate. We have less than 10% of all bills on an annualized basis that would be impacted by this.
Okay. Any other questions? Can a motion approve ordinance 1037 as presented?
So moved.
Can I get a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Casey, thank you very much. Item G, to discuss, consider, and act to approve resolution 25-50 approving contracts with Driven Security for the purpose of Ricotta access control and camera hardware, 5-year licenses and installation services for the Westlake Fire EMS Station 1 and Public Works Facility. Mr. Power, who just
Where is Mr.
out the door.
Mr. Power just walked out, so it looks like I'll be...
Well, he clearly made the agenda item.
Last chance here. Okay, I'm up. That's right.
Pinch hitter.
Pass this to the... All right. Technology options here. So, this is Westlake Academy. I'm
really don't want to talk about that.
I really don't want to do this. All right.
Here we go.
Here he comes. Okay.
Closer.
I've done a song and dance long enough to get Jason in here to do his presentation. Here we go. In a quick summary, though, I will say this is the exact same system that we utilize at the Academy, and we're going to be installing, and at Town Hall, and we're going to be installing, if approved tonight, installing the same camera systems at Public Works, at our Public Works facility, which is the pump station. That way we can monitor the safety of our water systems that are in place there, and also at the fire station. As you've seen tonight, there's a lot of very expensive equipment there. There's also some Schedule 1 and Schedule 2 medications there, some narcotics that are carried, so we need to make sure that those things are monitored at all time as well. So that is kind of the quick synopsis of this. Jason can speak more to any of the specifics. Jason? Yeah, I'm sure I messed that all up, Jason. Sorry about that.
I got it.
Yes, sir.
This is within our budget.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I
So
mean,
this was approved as a part of the budget
Yep.
from the beginning of the year and is within the budgeted amount. So we are good to go, honestly. And again, it helps us with economies of scale as it's the same types of cameras that we would be installing. They're all in investigative quality, so we could have the police department utilize the footage for investigations if something terrible was to happen for us. Really, other than that, it keeps our IT department from having to learn 4 or 5 different systems, right? We've got a
Yeah,
single
we don't want
system
that.
across the board.
Yeah.
So really, unless there's any other questions, Jason, do you have any other?
Yeah.
Okay.
Council, any other questions?
I do have one other question.
Yes, sir.
As we discussed this at some point, this technology, does it have the facial recognition technology? It's high resolution, but I recognize that by law we can't use it in some places. Is it equipped for that should the law change?
Yes, sir. It is equipped for that. We cannot use it at the Academy as it is against the law, but we can use it everywhere else.
Fantastic. Next question. The $143,000 allocated to that over 5 years, is that per year or is that over the 5 years? So it's 40 years.
That pays for 5 years.
So we get this plus 5 years of maintenance?
Right.
Questions? Any other questions?
Going forward, we're going to be able to negotiate all the places that have this as a single contract for service forward.
We should be able to, yes.
I would
Yeah.
recommend you do that.
Yeah, little economies of scale,
Yeah,
for sure.
absolutely.
The technology.
We're getting the government rate. So the timing on all this didn't line up for
Yeah.
everything to happen at the same time. But yes, going forward, we can do that in 10 years.
Any other questions from council? Do I have a motion to approve Resolution 25-50 as presented?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries as presented.
Great presentation, Jason.
Well done, Mr. Carroll.
Nicely moved.
Nice. Agenda item G3, discuss, consider, act to adopt ordinance 1040 approving a contract extension with Allied Waste, a.k.a. Republic Services, for trash pickup and recycling services effective January 1, 2026. Mr. Carroll.
All right, Council and Mayor. This one actually is my item, so I can speak to this a little more
Ask
clearly.
Jason to do it.
That's right. Jason, would you mind coming up and taking care of this?
We're going
Nice.
to be able
No,
to
not
do
at all.
that.
Don't mind
You
doing
did
that.
it.
So if you'll recall, several months ago, we talked about our trash contract was coming to an end in December, and we needed to renew that trash contract going forward with Republic if we chose to do so. The town sent out a survey, and we got quite a few respondents back. Had a high, John, do you remember exactly what was the confidence rate? I believe it was 86%. Was that correct? Yeah, so I think we had an 86% confidence rate on that survey coming back to us, and everything that was in that survey that citizens asked for, we moved into this contract. So those contract changes are there. So we've moved our trash date from a Friday, which it is currently, to a Thursday, which was the highest voted day of the week that they wanted trash service. They also wanted to make sure that we included our hazardous materials cleanup and move that to the spring. We have that in the spring now. We're not only going to do hazardous materials cleanup, but we're adding a shredding truck to take care of shredding documents for anyone, and not government, obviously. That sounded kind of bad. And then we're also doing electronics disposal and EV battery disposals as well. So we're excited to bring those things forward. We also have roll-offs that are available to the town as we're needed, that Public Works uses often for park cleanup, roadway cleanup, those types of things. So we've been able to get all those things into the contract. There is a price increase. You'll see that there's a 55% price increase in the contract, that going from $14 a month for residents to $22 a month, roughly. I'm doing a little rounding there. And that's mainly because we have not had an increase in over 4 years. So we were needing to catch up to what the industry standard is. And then moving forward, you'll see that the contract allowed for two different things. It allowed for CPI growth. So if utilizing the water, sewer, and trash CPI, we could choose for our contract to match the CPI for each annual year after that for there are new rates. Or we could choose a flat rate. We were able to choose a flat rate at 4% increase on the annual, which is under what the CPI has been for the last several years for trash, water, and sewer. Don't confuse that with the overall CPI rate, which is significantly lower. But in those specific areas, there's been some major increases in costs, especially around recycle. Which we're seeing less and less ability to recycle or to pay for recycling across the board. I really like Republic in the fact that Republic owns their own dumps, so we don't have to worry about a price increase coming from a dump site onto onto a trash service that would then turn around in the middle of a rate season and bump our rates up. So we have a good solid contract here that we know is not going to change. I've got Jerry Harwell with us here tonight from Republic Services.
How are you? Welcome.
She's our representative for the town of Westlake. She can answer any questions, and I can answer any questions on the contract.
Any questions from council?
Just as a reminder, we, or Republic, had the right in contract to raise the rate 3%.
That's correct.
Period, right?
That's correct.
They chose not to.
They chose not to over that time period.
So we're hoping that they choose not to raise to 4% going forward. That's our ask.
Oh, look at the time.
Hey, 4% is better than 54%.
Yeah.
They were being very nice to us during a very volatile time politically at the town of Westlake. They abided by, we're trying to say this as nicely as possible, they were basically nice to us during a very tough time. And then when I came in and council got solid, I was kind of mean to her and made her wait to the end of the contract period to do anything else. So I appreciate Jerry and Republic's ability to do that, number one, and then also to just be receptive to our needs.
Yeah, the only question I had, and this is when our residents, talking about me, when we set things outside our trash can, they don't get picked up. So if that's the rule, we just need to make sure everybody knows it, because it was getting done. We'd set boxes and stuff, and then we'd go out there and the boxes were still there, or the other trash. Yeah. So
We have a mayor that's a rule breaker. So that's
I didn't know. It's
awesome, Mayor.
ignorance. It's clearly ignorance.
So on the second and fourth Thursday of every month, you can put 2 cubic yards outside of your cart, and we will pick that up. If you're putting stuff outside of your cart on the other Thursdays,
Yeah,
which
like
is
just
now
another
Friday,
trash bag. Yeah.
then they probably are not picking it up, which is disappointing to me that they're not tagging it. But that's kind of
Okay.
the service. But you can get a second cart at a nominal monthly fee.
We did. I did follow that rule. Thank you.
I mean, and I'm going to work with your town manager. We run sanitary landfills, not dumps.
Well
So I
done.
had to correct that because probably somebody from my management team is probably watching this somewhere, and so I wanted to make sure. No, I have actually been over this contract for 19 years.
Excellent.
So I've been very consistent to be here, and while we go through changes, you guys have been through a lot of changes, and so what I didn't want to do was stir up more changes that didn't need to really be done, and overall we are a partner.
Yeah.
And so that's the most important thing to me. So
Thank you very much. Thank you
So-
for all you do for us.
we appreciate
Any
it.
other questions? And I will follow the rules, I promise.
You won't.
Any other questions from council? Can I get a motion to adopt ordinance 1040 as presented? Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item G4, consider an act to excuse mayor or council absences. Mr. Godier was at a board meeting. Can I get a motion to excuse his absence?
No. do this every time.
I knew that was coming.
I guess.
Yes,
So moved.
All right, there's a motion made. Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Good job, Mr. Godier. Thank you. Okay, we're going to now jump back to the Westlake Academy agenda. It's 5:46. I'm now going to open it up to parent and public comments. I have the ones that have listed so far. The first one, these were in order from Diana, is Carolyn Wang. When you come up, please state your name and your address. And then, just as a rule, council will not respond on anything you have to say. So I know when I was on the other side and I was talking, it's a little unnerving, but by protocols, we're not going to respond to any of your comments. And you have a 3-minute limit that I think Ms. Buchanan is on. Good.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Carolyn Wang, and my parents live right here in Westlake, and I reside in Colleyville. Okay. I'm a Westlake Academy parent with 3 boys in 7th, 5th, and 3rd grade. My family joined Westlake Academy in 2019, and since then, I've been honored to serve on the House of Commons, managing the website, supporting Spirit Shop and fundraising events, as well as helping expand the PYP talent show into a K-12 event. I've also proudly served as a junior high football ambassador and currently as a 7th grade boy basketball ambassador. When I first got involved, I didn't think volunteering this much would be possible as a working mom, but the relationships I've built through HOC have been incredibly meaningful, not just for me, but for my boys who get to see firsthand the values of being part of a community that gives back and supports one another. As parents, we entrust our children to teachers and coaches every day. We rely on their guidance, but also on the families and communities that surround them. The friends our children make and the families who invest their time and care shape the Westlake Academy experience just as much as our IB curriculum. Recently, I met a parent at my 9-year-old flag football game, a Westlake resident who made the difficult decision to leave the school and spend over $60,000 a year elsewhere for a stronger sense of community. She chose connection and belonging over rankings and test scores. That conversation stuck with me. It reminded me that culture and community matter just as much as academic performance. When families don't feel supported or connected, leaving can feel like the only option. One of the things I value most about Westlake Academy is that it is a true K-12 home, a place where students grow up together and where teachers build meaningful, long-lasting relationships. But if we want to preserve that strength, we must be honest about the improvements that is needed and respond with empathy, clarity, and intention. I believe we are all called to serve one another, to love our neighbors, and to lift each other up. When we create space where teachers can thrive and families can connect, not just at large events, but in small, meaningful ways that cost nothing, we show our children what it means to care deeply and work together. This kind of service is contagious, especially when it's recognized and modeled by the teachers in this room. Many parents have sensed a shift in culture, an unease that can no longer be ignored. We've seen beloved teachers leave, and we've heard concern from others. Our teachers are the foundation of everything we do. When they feel supported and valued, our students thrive, and when parents feel heard and respected, engagement grows. We need more than updates on social channels. Research shows that direct, meaningful communication is what builds trust and lasting engagement. So tonight, I respectfully ask the board to prioritize a third-party anonymous survey for both teachers and parents, focused on culture, communication, and engagement. Independent surveys provide honest feedback without fear of retribution. This is how we get a true pulse on our people, so we can better support teachers, strengthen family involvement, and nurture the connected, thriving community we all want for our students. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next is Elizabeth Whiting.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth Whiting, and I'm a teacher at Westlake Academy, and I reside in Flower Mound. I wanted to take a moment to honor the season of thankfulness that we are in. I'll read what I put, and I have something to give to the board members that you guys can take a look at later. My name is Elizabeth Whiting, and I'm a 4th grade teacher at Westlake Academy. I'm currently in my 7th year of teaching at Westlake Academy, and I'm also a parent to a 5th grader and a 7th grader that both attend Westlake. My time here thus far has allowed me to observe the school's journey through numerous seasons of change. I've had the opportunity to witness our community navigate these transitions under 3 different mayors and countless town board members, as well as significant shifts in our own administrative structure, including 3 heads of school, an interim head, a full slate of principals, assistant principals, and support staff. I cite this history because it provides essential context for where we are today. When change is frequent, it's easy to get caught up in the surrounding noise. Tonight, I have the distinct privilege of speaking on behalf of our entire school community. That includes dedicated teachers, supportive parents, and our incredible students to say thank you to the Board of Trustees. Thank you for bringing us Dr. Ritchie. Westlake Academy is the best that it's been in my time in these 7 years. As we approach the season of Thanksgiving, our hearts and minds at Westlake Academy are naturally focused on gratitude. While this time is often dedicated to family and tradition, for us it's also a moment to reflect on the unwavering leadership that allows our school community to profoundly thrive. Our head of school, Dr. Ritchie, doesn't just manage our school. She pours her heart and soul into every facet of Westlake Academy. Her commitment extends beyond our campus walls, strengthening the vital ties between our school and the greater town of Westlake, and her dedication truly makes Westlake Academy the best school in North Texas. In that spirit of gratitude, I would like to present Dr. Ritchie with a book full of notes that staff and parents have expressed how grateful that we are to have you as our leader. I'd also like to share a few of those heartfelt messages, as it's not possible for all of our staff, all of our parents, and all of our students to be here. So just a few of the words that you'll find, and I have a copy for you all to look through. Dr. Ritchie, I am so grateful to be a part of this awesome team. Thank you for instilling the love of reading in our PYP students as you read aloud to our classes. They absolutely love it. That's from our librarian, Sarah Titus. Dr. Ritchie, you have helped to create a calm, safe, and stable atmosphere and a culture we are proud to work in. You are an example of the IB traits we teach our students. I am especially impressed with the thoughtfulness that surrounds your decision-making. That is from Jody Doris, a paraprofessional. Dr. Ritchie, thank you for advocating for teacher raises, identifying additional opportunities for growth, for strengthening security across our campus. Your dedication to creating a safe, stronger, and more supportive environment truly makes a lasting impact on all of us. Senora Katina, one of our Spanish teachers. Dr. Ritchie, I'm so thankful for your leadership and the genuine openness that you bring to every conversation. You take the time to listen, to understand the challenges, and to find real solutions. We are better because of your leadership. Harmony Locash, a 4th grade teacher. Dr. Ritchie, I have seen new, exciting changes that feel up to date and keep our school image great. Kelly Bruggeman. Dr. Ritchie, the school is a battlefield. You have an army standing behind you to help keep fighting the good fight. That's our nurse.
Ms. Whiting,
Yes.
that we got 3 minutes,
Perfect.
so we got to keep
Yep.
everybody with those.
So you have the book to read more, and I'm going to hand Dr. Ritchie. I understand that there's a lot of noise and volume, and we just wanted to bring the Academy's thankfulness. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next one is Kelly Capici.
Hi, I'm Kelly Capecci. I reside at 2016 Whitwood Cove. I'm a parent and member of the House of Commons at Westlake Academy. My husband and I specifically moved to Westlake for the educational offerings at Westlake Academy, particularly the International Baccalaureate program. I appreciate the achievements made under the leadership of Dr. Ritchie and our dedicated teachers, and I recognize the financial constraints currently faced by all schools. However, I believe as a school and community, we have not adequately prioritized the mental health and social well-being of our students and teachers. We currently only have 2 counselors serving students across K through 12. For context, The Texas Association of School Boards recommends one counselor for every 350 students, and the American School Counselor Association recommends at least one counselor for every 250 students. While the current national average is 385 students to one counselor, Westlake's ratio is significantly higher, 452 students per counselor for PYP through grade 6, and 467 students per counselor for grades 7 through 12. Although our counselors are excellent, these numbers indicate they are overburdened and limited in the scope of services and support they can effectively deliver. We must integrate mental health support into the larger conversation surrounding campus safety. Statistically, if there were an incident at Westlake Academy, it is most likely to involve a student. Furthermore, I believe we want to do everything possible to prevent a tragedy, especially after the loss of one of our students last year. Therefore, we should be proactive and invest in our counselors and our mental health and social well-being programs. Mental health is essential to students' overall development, well-being, and academic success, and it directly impacts our teachers' overall effectiveness in the classroom. Investing in this area is a direct investment in all of our students and teachers. By providing our students and teachers with the necessary support, we can foster a stronger, more positive, and more resilient community built on compassion, empathy, and support for one another. I urge you to consider this critical need during the budget reviews for the coming year. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Well done. Next, Spencer Thurman.
Good evening. I live on Greyhawk Lane in Fort Worth, Texas. I come to you tonight as a parent and community member deeply concerned or deeply committed to Westlake Academy's mission and values, particularly the values embedded in the IB learner profile. These attributes are not just words on a poster. They are meant to guide how our students learn, how our teachers lead, and how our administration operates. When the school's actions fall out of alignment with these principles, families can grow concerned. Over the past months, families have raised questions about a number of decisions that have created confusion and, at times, frustration. But the heart of the issue is not simply the decisions themselves. It's whether the processes behind them reflect the integrity, transparency, and respect that the IB philosophy requires. The IB profile asks our children to be inquirers and communicators, yet many families feel their own inquiries are discouraged, and communication often arrives only after decisions are made. Parents aren't asking to run the school. They're asking for dialogue. They're asking to be heard with the same curiosity and openness we expect our students to show every day. The IB profile calls our learners knowledgeable and open-minded. This means weighing multiple perspectives and engaging thoughtfully with issues that have real significance. When families receive conflicting explanations for financial decisions, such as the dramatic rise in after-school fees, it becomes difficult to see that decisions are grounded in that same open-minded knowledge base. It calls for us to be caring and balanced. Although we are called both caring and balanced, recent decisions, whether involving discipline, staffing, or changes within the school environment, have left many students, staffing, teachers, and parents feeling unsettled. Citing safety and security cannot serve as a catch-all explanation that discourages further questions. A truly caring and balanced environment is not one where people feel hesitant to speak up. It is one where openness, compassion, and steadiness shape how concerns are heard and addressed. The IB profile asks us to be thinkers and risk-takers, making ethical, reasoned decisions and approaching challenges with foresight, not haste. Parents want to see that same thoughtful decision-making reflected in how new programs, trips, and policies are created and communicated, especially when they involve a significant financial or educational implication. Most importantly, the IB profile calls for us to be principled, meaning to act with integrity, fairness, and honesty, and to take responsibility for the consequences of our actions. This affects not only the way we conduct business, but also in the way we talk about others, including students, donors, parents, and staff members. This is the core of what families are asking for today. Integrity is not about perfection, it is about transparency. It is about modeling the values we expect our children to live by. Finally, the profile reminds us to be reflective, which means listening. It means acknowledging when something has not gone as planned and working collaboratively to improve. Parents, teachers, and students want to see the administration embrace the reflective spirit so Westlake Academy can continue to grow and thrive. We are asking that our leadership embody the same attributes we teach our children. We want alignment, accountability, and a recommitment to the integrity that has long defined Westlake Academy. Our students deserve nothing less, and our community expects nothing less. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next, Susan Thurman.
Good evening. My name is Susan Thurman, and I live in Fort Worth, Texas. I am here today because I believe deeply that God cares about Westlake Academy, its students, its staff, and the way we treat every person who walks through its doors. Compassion is not just a virtue, it is a responsibility, and it is written in the very mission of Westlake Academy. Westlake Academy is an IB continuum school where students become compassionate lifelong learners through an internationally minded, balanced education that empowers students to contribute to our interconnected world. Our PYP students recite this every day. Our MYP and DP students hear it daily over the announcements. Even if some students don't fully grasp every word now, we hope that by the time they graduate, they will not only understand these concepts, they will live them. But compassion is not something learned through repetition. It is learned through experience. A compassionate person does not simply feel sympathy. They demonstrate it through action. So we must ask, what are we doing to model compassion for our children? Are our administrators embodying compassion in their decisions, their communication, and their discipline? Or are we offering only the appearance of compassion, words spoken but rarely demonstrated? We want our students to become compassionate lifelong learners, but they cannot learn compassion if they never see it practiced towards them, their peers, their teachers, or their families. We cannot reserve compassion for after tragedy strikes. Compassion must come before, in the everyday interactions, in moments of difficulty, in discipline, and in relationships. When administrators lead with threats of expulsion instead of support and guidance, what message does this send to our students? Does it make them feel safe, valued, and loved, and understood? Have we shown compassion to the parents who are in this room today? Do we extend compassion to the teachers who left mid-year? Do we show compassion to the staff members who were pushed out or felt unsupported? Do we show compassion to our special population students? If compassion is truly central to our mission, then it must be central to our actions. Why do we have fewer school counselors this year, especially after the tragic events our community experienced? When students are hurting, struggling, overwhelmed, counselors are not optional, they are essential. Families do not come to Westlake for the bare minimum. They come because they believe this school offers something more. The IB evaluation earlier this year recommended that Westlake Academy promote balance and well-being in DP through mindfulness and physical activities. I ask, what changes have been made to meet that recommendation? When I asked my DP student, he said he hadn't noticed any. Westlake Academy is a rigorous school. This is part of its strength, but rigor requires balance. It requires support. It requires compassion. We cannot change the tragedies of the past, but we must ask, what if compassion had been shown earlier? What difference could it have made to the student, to their family, to their friends, to this community? This is not a military institution. This is an IB continuum school. This is Westlake Academy, and compassion must be at the heart of everything we do, not just in our mission statement, not just in our announcements, but in our daily practice and our leadership.
Thank you. Thank you. It's all anyone else? Okay, I appreciate it. I appreciate everybody taking the time to come up here and share your thoughts. We really do. Moving on the agenda, presentations and recognitions, J2 BRW Architect presentation, Dr. Kelly Ritchie.
We're very thankful tonight to have BRW here with us. If you remember, during our work session several weeks ago, we were in the process of discussing how to address the storm shelter issue, which came up with the Arts and Science Edition. We are not ICC 500 compliant, and so the board tasked BRW with coming up with some solutions to address how we would move forward with potentially looking at a storm shelter. So they are back with us tonight to walk us through some of those options. and to answer any questions that you might have. There's no action being taken tonight. This is a presentation only. Welcoming back Ann Hildebrand and Chris Santos, so thank them for being here tonight.
Sorry, our time management's not real good today. It's been a full day.
I'm Ann Hildenbrand with BRW Architects, joined by Chris Sano with BRW Architects. We're both principals and involved with the design of the Westlake Academy Arts and Science Edition, and we're here tonight to present various options for a future storm shelter. And you asked us to look at 3 different options: a competition gym, a performance auditorium, and a dining option, and then compare that to a baseline. With the storm shelter, there are various components involved to meet the ICC 500. There are architectural implications, structural implications, and MEP implications. It's a stout building that adds cost. These implications add cost to a building. And
I'm sorry, what is MEP?
Mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. So the first option that we evaluated was a gymnasium. This is a competition gym. It would include 1,200 spectator seats and restrooms and the mechanical and electrical spaces to support that, and also serve as a storm shelter. And a tornado is one form of a storm shelter. So when I use storm shelter, I also mean a tornado shelter. Additional program spaces that aren't required to be within that storm shelter, but you would want to have with a competition gym, are a lobby and concessions, locker rooms to support that gym, laundry and facilities, and coaches' offices. And we've also included some diagrams to show adjacencies and to show that list of spaces that I just reviewed, how that would work with what would be within the storm shelter and outside of the storm shelter. The dashed red line would show what would need to be within the confines of that tornado shelter. The second option that we have evaluated was a cafeteria. So this cafeteria would need to, at a minimum during a tornado event, hold up to 1,400 people. And all of these tornado shelters that we're reviewing this evening would have that as a minimum. Most of them have more than that because they're a gym or other spaces. But it would also need to include the restrooms and the electrical and mechanical space within that perimeter of the tornado shelter. And then additional program pieces that can be either within or outside of that perimeter would be a kitchen and chair storage. And again, a diagram of how that might work. This is mainly to show adjacencies. It's not meant to be a floor plan.
Can I ask just one quick question there, just to clarify? Yes. So the 16,000 gross square footage on the previous one, does that just the cafeteria space, or does that include the kitchen and the support?
That includes the square footage include the entire building.
The footprint.
Yes.
But the reinforced structure, the difference between the last two, the reinforced structure and the cafeteria would just be half the building, whereas the gym is almost the entire building.
Yes.
That's beautiful.
So the third building that we evaluated was an auditorium tornado shelter. And this auditorium would include approximately 350 seats, stage, the control booth, the green room, some storage, restrooms, and electrical and mechanical spaces. Again, that would be within that perimeter. And then outside of that would be a lobby. A reason not to put the lobby within that perimeter, you'd want large openings, a lot of glass, a welcoming space. So you wouldn't want to spend money or just have small openings in that portion of the building. And again, a diagram of how that might lay out and what those adjacencies would be.
I'm sorry, what was the square footage on that?
So this slide shows the square footages. So we evaluated also the cost and the size of these 3 buildings. And our gym would be the largest space with the 1,200 seats. The auditorium would be the second largest space. It would have 350 seats. And then the cafeteria would have at a minimum 400 seats per lunch period. And we compared that with a baseline building. So the baseline building would need to be at least 8,200 gross square feet and have a usable area to accommodate 1,400 people.
And
But it would
baseline
just
is just
be
a
a
storm
large,
shelter,
yeah,
standalone.
this would just be a
$6 million
standalone
for-
storm shelter, no windows, just an open room. It would have the minimum requirements that you would need: toilet facilities, electrical, and some HVAC to make that a functional tornado shelter. So it's not included as an option, it's included as a baseline to compare the cost and the size of that building. But you can see that the gym and the auditorium, both 20 million, and that cafeteria would be 15.5 million. Some cons for the cafeteria and the auditorium: they would duplicate function, and then that auditorium would have limited functionality, whereas a competition gym could serve the all-school assemblies. Graduation, it would have you would have then a dedicated practice gym because you already have a gym that could then serve as that. And you would also be able to then use the existing cafeteria that you have as a dedicated cafeteria, and that wouldn't have to be multi-purpose throughout the day.
I'm sorry, that's a con?
No, those are all pros. So
Con is duplicated
there are no
function.
cons for a gymnasium that we found.
I'm looking at the cafeteria.
The cafeteria, there's already a cafeteria on the campus, so if we
Right,
build
it's
another one,
not
you would have
terribly-
a duplicated space.
Right, but it's not terribly.
It's not
Would have to reconstitute.
it's not large enough today, and it serves as a multi-purpose space today.
And so these numbers just include the actual building, the construction. It doesn't include FFE.
Correct.
So just kind of let's step back and make sure, just we had some of these conversations. So as we move ahead with arts and sciences, the ordinance that we have to be compliant with, we are going to put temporary storm shelters out, is what we've talked about to this point, to make sure we're compliant. This is all exploratory conversations on what our options are if we were to choose to do that, right? It's that simple.
So we also have evaluated the site and reviewed different options for where these storm shelters could go, and evaluated the pros and cons of all of those.
So here's an aerial, of course, of your campus today. And like Ann said, we want to evaluate this storm shelter option, not only how big is it and how much money it might cost, also where should it go. This is not just in space as a theory, this is on your existing campus. So we've identified what we've labeled as 5 potential building locations. This is a really high level kind of evaluation. So we've labeled them each A, B, C, D, and E in different portions of the campus, all that we feel could support a building, whatever that function might be. All of those site locations are within 1,000 linear feet of every other building to meet the requirement for a storm shelter if one of these sites served as that storm shelter. So we've evaluated each of those sites based on the following criteria.
I'm
So
sorry,
again-
just to stop you really quick.
Yeah.
This is for the building that we're proposing or for a freestanding storm?
Yes.
It is
everything.
It's kind of, it's layering in additional
I mean, but
information.
if we were to only just do a standalone storm shelter, these would still be the
Oh.
locations or no?
We are looking at this primarily
for the
for
construction.
a construction
Okay,
of a
perfect. Just
new
wanted to clarify.
building.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that's great. Appreciate it, because I'm probably going to get ahead of myself.
I should clarify for the board, part of what their service contract included was to try to look at a master plan in the event the board was interested in seeing what their recommendations would be. So these are just solely for recommendation purposes.
Exactly.
Follow on to Tammy's question. Would every, other than the storm shelter itself, the baseline, would every one of the other three fit into these places, or would it be a specific better place for the gym versus the area?
That's what we're proposing. We're going to show, so for example, Site A, I believe we're showing 4 different building types that we feel, in our opinion, might be suited there. No, it's a great question. Some of the sites were like, this is not well suited for that function. We're not going to really evaluate it. There's a lot of information here. So we've been fairly thorough at this high level. If I get too deep in it, tell me to move along. But I just wanted to share it because we're evaluating these, again, from a storm shelter perspective, but a master plan on your campus with a very finite boundary and limited sites that seem doable for a new building. So these are the evaluation criteria that we've begun with, looking at site context and adjacencies. So again, we're looking at a single site that could serve multiple functions. That site might be great for one function, may not be great for another function due to proximity. We're looking at access and circulation. Each program, if I say like a cafeteria, is going to have different requirements for access. For example, loading and a grease trap versus a classroom building versus performing arts center. So these are some of the categories. Site infrastructure and utilities, topography and environmental conditions. So that affects ease of construction as well as cost. If there's a lot of topography on the site, there are a lot of mature trees, that's going to have an impact. Safety and security, of course, is a big deal. We've got drives going through the campus, so access across drives is one consideration. Educational functionality, again, how we're going to use those spaces. Construction logistics, because construction is disruptive. So considerations of what that impact might be depending on that particular site. And of course, cost and feasibility of constructing. We're going to start on Site A, and this is one of 4 on this site. So this Site A is where your existing portable buildings are. So on the right of that circle area, to the right is the arts and science, to the left is the field house, just to give your orientation. And again, here we're looking at a gymnasium. So this would be a gymnasium building that's also serving as a storm shelter. On the right are a list of some pros and cons. Pros are typically shown in black. Red would be considered a con. So starting at the top, a gym in this location, a pro would be that it's located within kind of the athletic zone of the campus. I think that could be a lot of synergy to be adjacent to the field house and adjacent to the sports fields. A negative might be that it is a large, big building, because a gym is just a tall, big building at the front of the campus. It's a storm shelter, so there's not going to be a lot of glass. That could be considered a con to have that near the front door. From access, it's great because it's near existing drives and parkings. So as a gym, large event, you've got parking lot already there that could be really convenient. We believe there are adequate utilities on this site. That particular site is flat, no trees to remove, so it's pretty easy to construct. Students can access the building on this site without crossing vehicular drives, so it's from a safety perspective, that's great. A gymnasium would create the competition-sized court that you do not have today. It also would allow you to use your existing dining hall, the multipurpose building, to not function as PE. It could just be a dining hall. So that's a lot of logistics and just the way the classes are run every day, not having to transform that space back and forth every day using time and resources. A big con for this particular site is that the portables would have to be relocated first. So does that mean relocating those existing portables to a different site on the campus, or is that building a new classroom building to then relocate those classrooms. We're not suggesting one or the other, but that would be a negative about building on this particular site.
And those are,
Yeah,
Yes, they would be.
the big Legos.
okay, well, that's good to know.
But of
They
course,
can even
there's
stacked.
yes. Let's not do that. And so there's a cost in relocating those portables. That of course would be, and there's time involved with that as well. But then with a gymnasium function, as we mentioned, it could be used for leasing opportunities and graduation. So there are additional benefits besides the pure athletics performance.
Question about that site. So,
Yeah.
because thinking about the portables, is it possible, is there space to build on that site and leave one of the portables in the place?
I
Or
do
not
not,
at all?
think so.
Okay.
These are
I don't
big
know. I don't know what the
buildings.
footprint. will
Right.
look
Yeah,
like
we're
of
kind
it,
of just
so.
generically showing a circle because each of these building types are a little bit different and a different configuration. But from what we're looking at today, it's going to take that whole area. So that's one of many that we're going to go through. I wanted to go kind of slowly through this first one. Maybe we can speed up for the next ones. Tell me if
We're quick learners. We're good.
Great. So now we're moved to the dining hall.
Let me recommend if the board of trustees is satisfied. I don't think you have to review every bullet. I think
Agreed.
just
Yep.
review the things that we really.
I wanted to go through it the first time slowly, and now
Thank
we
you,
can
Michael.
speed up, which is fantastic for me too. So site A, same site, but looking at a dining hall. Again, red is considered a con, black is considered a benefit. I'd say the bottom one here on red, the dining area would be 2 times larger than required if we're making it a storm shelter. So if we are building a dining hall that was not a storm shelter, it would be half the size that we're required to as a storm shelter. So I think that is a cost consideration that is a negative to building a dining hall as a storm shelter. Move to the next one. Same site, but maybe it's a performing arts function. Again, here with any building on the site, we're having to relocate the portables. So that's a cost and time impact. But a benefit could be up at the top. It would be performing arts. It could be a really nice synergy with the arts and science building. So there's a performing arts adjacency that could be really beneficial. And then the last one on this site, labeled not a storm shelter. Just again, thinking big picture master planning, this would be a nice location probably for a classroom building. Again, same impact of the portables having to be relocated, but you could design a classroom building to function as needed for a classroom building, could be 2-story to gain efficiency of the site. It's just another consideration of how to use the site, knowing that we've had limited site opportunity.
Why can't that be a storm shelter? I know it wasn't considered as one of these 3 proposals. I know there's a lot more walls, there's a lot more glass, but is it possible to have classroom? Have you seen it done where there's classroom space that serves as a storm shelter?
We have seen it done. What I've seen is some compromises to the learning environment, again, because of the glazing. It's very expensive to do glass in storm shelters. So classroom spaces want a lot of glass. We want that daylight and access to views. So there's a big impact there. And it's broken up into smaller areas to a classroom building. So there's kind of the coordination of organizing within that that's a consideration. We usually do not see storm shelters as classrooms.
I probably should have asked this before. Is there, if you build a subterranean, if you build a basement for a storm shelter, the above still has to be the same criteria, right, for the storm shelter?
If the storm shelter was below grade, it could be its own.
It could be its own thing, and then you could build regular on top. How hard is it to go in this part of the country to go? I kind of know the answer to this question based on basements, but
It's all possible. There's a significant cost.
Okay.
To building below
yeah,
grade.
of course there is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So moving on to Site B. So this is in kind of the northwest corner of the site, adjacent to the athletic fields. Here we're showing it as a gymnasium. A couple of Great opportunities are, again, it would be located within the athletic zone of the campus. A negative would be its distance from existing parking. So for large events, you don't have adjacent large parking areas. And something we talked about last time is just some limitations of your existing boundary of the campus. Are there future opportunities to evolve that? We hang in on that. And we'd have to relocate that existing parking, which isn't a large quantity. It would be manageable within the existing conditions to add some parking. Same site as a dining hall. Again, I'll just highlight a couple of issues. It's a distance from the main entry, and for the dining hall, I could see that being a little bit of a challenge, the distance from the PYP. Again, it's also duplicating an existing commercial kitchen. You've got one today that's functional. Now you're spending that extra money for commercial kitchens, which are expensive. You've got kind of this duplicated service and cost. And again, the dining area would be twice as large as it needed to be just to be a storm shelter. And then we looked at it as a performing arts site. Again, it's distant from parking for large events, but it's kind of at the back of the site, so it could serve whatever function it needs to, and it could have the aesthetic implications as a storm shelter might have as it needs. Okay, now we're moving to Site C. This is in your open green space just north of the PYP. So this is, there are several reds here. We're looking at this as a dining hall. Again, we're just exploring all options.
Right, all possibilities.
Yep. And it just turned out, there's a lot of reds here. So eliminating the open space at the heart of the campus, I think, is a pretty big deal. It was intended to be open green space from the get-go of this campus development and seemed to be a very important part of the community of the campus. So I think that is a pretty negative reaction to this. There is a fair amount of grading, topography on that portion of the campus, so getting a grease trap and access to that would be challenging. We would have to remove some large trees. So again, that would, I think, negatively impact the campus overall. And it's a lot of heavy construction right in the heart of campus that would cause some disruption to campus life. I looked at this site again as a performing arts space. Again, it's got a lot of the same negatives. So it just seems like a really challenging site and maybe not ideally suited for a building. But then we looked just north of that parking lot, what we're calling Site D, and started with a performing arts building. So one of the benefits is that top one, its location suits itself for a signature building. Architecturally, have a really big impact to the public face. Performing arts buildings lend themselves to that and have a lot of visibility from the public view. A big negative is that there's a lot of topography and a lot of mature trees. So again, it would have an impact to the feel of the campus, but being at the edge, if it had a signature building architecturally, that might be a trade-off that you're willing to consider.
And just a quick question on that one, because that seems to be kind of the farthest away. Is that still within that?
It is. It appears to be, yes.
Distance? Okay.
Yep.
But there's a lot of land there that you don't drive around.
It's such a distance from the secondary building. It seems like it wouldn't be.
300 yards.
And what's the requirement?
1,000.
Yeah.
And then we are moving to Site E, which is just in between the PYP and the multipurpose hall, looking at it as a dining hall here, as a new dining hall building. Again, it turns out we're showing a lot of red cons. A few to highlight are it's eliminating the future growth opportunity for PYP classrooms. It always seemed to be that PYP was going to extend onto this site for classrooms. That's how it was originally designed. Again, due to the topography, some loading access for a dining facility, I think could present some challenges, which of course imply cost. And then some of the same considerations we've seen before about heavy construction right in the heart of campus and the requirement to build this twice as big as it would need to be if it wasn't a storm shelter. And then looking at that same site, and not as a storm shelter, but classrooms, which is what it lends itself to be, in our opinion. Direct connection to the PYP, it just makes a lot of sense to have the classrooms there. Again, we're going to have to deal with the topography a little bit easier in a classroom building as opposed to a commercial kitchen that's got a loading dock area. It would eliminate the existing playground, so we'd have to find opportunity to relocate that.
So just quick question on that one, because as you mentioned, it was planned to be future expansion for the PYP. Is there a way that if we built it as an extension or connection, it could be built as a storm shelter, or is not possible?
Again, as a classroom, I think it would be
It couldn't match the rest of the building.
It would look
right? It would
considerably
be different.
The
Yes.
whole premise of how the school was built with natural light.
right? So that was a lot. But in summary, these are some of our recommendations. Again, from a master plan perspective, about which site lends itself to which type of program. This is not saying this is the only way it would work. It's just a recommendation based on these general concepts. And when we're looking at a storm shelter, which seems to be a priority, Site B lends itself the most towards a storm shelter and to be the function of a gymnasium.
I'm just curious, because I know that land behind that parking area drops off. Would you anticipate building into that area where you're showing the trees, or would it only be over the parking?
Right, and there's a lot to negotiate. Is it a little lower, a little bit higher, and it's probably somewhere in between? But we want to make it really accessible from a pedestrian perspective from the east. It could have more of a elevated relationship to the field.
That might actually.
I have just one comment. One of the other pros for B that you're not touching on here that's just worth considering is if we are going to expand the campus in the future, if we manage to get land to do that, it can only go in that direction. So that will remain in the center of campus. I do have a quick follow-up question, though, because I'm always asking about these numbers. I get that it's expensive to go down, right? But we're doing it all over town, and we're putting parking garages down. What is it? I'm not suggesting it's a parking garage, but what right now your top option, the one that's clearly your preference, is the gym, which is going to price out at about $20 million for 25,000 square feet, right? What is the cost per square foot to go down? If we did say, hey, we want to go down because what we really need right now, or we're really going to need in 4 years, is more classroom space. You don't need to give the number now, but I know it's suboptimal, but we're talking about something that, knock wood, will need to be used once every decade, right? So if it's a basement with a bathroom and ventilation, and there's classrooms above it, it's probably, if you start thinking about amortizing that cost over, a decade versus dropping another building on campus that we kind of sort of need, but may not.
And not use it, I guess, as any real function.
Use it as a parking garage. I'm not suggesting that. I'm saying use it with
Actual parking garage.
no real functional space other than potentially,
Below the ground.
Below the ground, yeah. Oh. So we're talking that baseline example you gave, that $6.7 million structure. What does it look like to put that
below grade,
20 feet down?
Right.
Particularly when you're talking about the topography in this area, where whatever we do, we're going to have to actually clear some land, and some of this is going to be below ground as it is, just given for the topography.
Solve some of the landlock issues, clearly. Just for council, if you weren't aware, if you look at this map, when we put in, I don't know what year this was, when we put in the road that's north that we're looking at, you notice how that land's cut off. We didn't negotiate just getting a straight piece all the way across to the field. I'm not quite sure why that was, but it would have been very nice. And the lead, that there's always tomorrow. That's correct.
And so to answer the two, it's not really an answer, but we consider for these sites only the existing boundary because we don't know what could lay in the future, and that absolutely would change considerations. I agree. Right. Yep. And then the cost of a below-grade storm shelter, we do not have. We have not investigated that.
Below grade.
Yeah. Oh, that's exactly right.
That may be fine, right? When we're thinking about the investment that we're going to make to solve the storm shelter issue, as you presented, 3 options that we encourage you to present, you don't love any of them, right? Because some of them are duplicative, some of them are sort of solving in a probably unnecessarily expansive way for the storm shelter. The cost of building just a regular competition gymnasium, I'm sure, is probably half of this. And so the question becomes, what does it look like to, and just considering all the possible options, this is a massive investment for the town and the academy. So what would that look like? Just think more broadly.
And then we've just kind of summarized again some of the benefits that we see of a storm shelter being a gymnasium typically in a school, but also for your specific campus because of the existing gym and the multipurpose hall functionality doubling between PE lunch period. So again, there are multiple benefits here that we've attempted to summarize.
Any other questions? You guys, thank you so much. I know and sorry for making you stay late. It's been a
May we have a copy of this presentation?
Yes, and you have a copy.
We do have a copy now?
Okay.
Okay, great. We didn't have 3.
The only thing I would like to add is that I do have a question for our attorney on this item, so if we could push this onto executive for a brief discussion.
We can't today. We can't next time.
We'd said that we're possible to do.
Sorry. Any item on the agenda can
We can't
move
move.
to
Okay.
executive session for a question for the attorney, correct?
Okay. Already done.
So we don't have to do it now. We can do it.
Thanks.
Thank you. This is very helpful.
Great job.
I'll just say, I know I was pressing you a lot in prior conversations, so I appreciate you guys putting this together.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Guys, thank you. Have a good evening. Thanks for being here. Moving on, regular Board of Trustees agenda items. K1, discuss, consider, and act to approve WA library policy update. Dr. Kelly Ritchie.
All right, so I want to first of all thank Ms. Titus and Ms. Estrada for hanging out for so long.
Yes, thank you.
They have been troopers tonight, so we are very, very lucky at Westlake Academy that we have 2 dedicated library media specialists, and sometimes if you're as old as I am, you have kind of very stagnant view of what a librarian is. These ladies are highly skilled, highly trained. They don't just check out books. They are actually engaged in teaching and learning at the academy. We couldn't do what we do without them. They're involved and they just recently completed some training that is going to put them in a position to actually help coach up our teaching techniques, which is going to affect every student at our campus. And so without further ado, I'm excited to introduce them to let them talk to you about legislative changes. The 89th legislative session is just the gift that keeps on giving, and they're going to talk to you about what's happened with library as a result of that. So thank you, Rada and Ms.
How are y'all? Welcome.
We're here a little sooner than we probably expected to be. We were just here last year to do our collective development policy, and now we're back because we had new laws, so we had to make some updates. And so we're here to just talk to you all a little bit about that and to hopefully move forward so that we can books for this. All right. Here we go. So just, we'll give you our quick context about our what we do, and then we'll move right into slides about the policy.
Perfect. So I'm Sarah Titus, for those of you who don't know me. I'm actually a Westlake Academy alum, class of 2012, and thank you.
So just for the record, we have 5, 6 alumni that are in our teaching staff now.
Yes.
5?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's wonderful.
So, very
Welcome
exciting.
back.
Thank you very much. And I'm super excited to talk to you about what we do in the library. So, like Dr. Ritchie was saying, we do a lot more than check out books. We build the love of reading, we grow our reading culture, and we teach specific researching skills. So we're really fostering this culture of academic and personal reading to reflect the IB mission and the mission of Westlake Academy. And we have spent a lot of time curating our physical and digital resources. So we're going to be talking to y'all today about what that looks like with these new laws.
And to state my name, I'm Katie Estrada, and I'm the secondary librarian. And in addition to that, we also work with the students to develop their ATL skills, or approaches to learning skills in research and thinking. And we strive to make experiences where we can collaborate locally, globally with the library and other opportunities that we can take to help take our inquiry beyond the library. And then, of course, we try to maintain an environment where we're supporting the learner profile traits within the library. So what that looks like in the day-to-day.
Okay. So in the PYP, I teach a fixed schedule for all of our kinder through grade 5 classes bi-weekly, so I get to see the kids quite often, and I also have a daily checkout so they can come check out their books, in addition to having those specific research skill lessons. I co-facilitate a grade 5 exhibition research lessons every week. So I collaborate with the teachers and our PYP coordinator, Allison Schneider, to make sure the students are learning all of those skills needed for exhibition. And in addition to that, we also focus on lessons and learning experiences for all of the PYP students. So again, developing the culture of reading, focusing on the approaches to learning, supporting the exhibition, really spending time collaborating with all of the teachers to make sure I can support them not only with the units of inquiry, but also just with any books or resources they may need in their classrooms, getting our databases organized with upper PYP. We just did a little author visit with Catherine Applegate, and her book is featured in our book fair right now. So if you want to come by a book fair, that's happening this week. And we also do field trips to local libraries to show the kids what else we have in our community.
And at the middle school and high school level, our English teachers bring the students to the library on a regular basis. Middle school comes about twice a month, and high school comes about once a month. So we do lessons that are related to building a culture of reading and also supporting the English teachers with their curriculum. But then, again, we work with those research skills across all of the content areas with our teachers. And then I also coordinate personal project and essay for our students. So we do a lot of research and writing skills.
Now for the exciting part. So Senate Bill 13 passed, which adds new requirements that really have to do with our library materials and how we go about purchasing them. So we want to ensure that parents have access to the library catalog, which they do, and they can control which library materials their students can check out or access. The law also has to do with ensuring an effective library material challenge process, which we also have here at Westlake Academy, and updating the school system's library materials acquisition policy.
So since the law was passed, these are the things that we've done so far. We collaborated with Region 11 and with our technology department to put in the elements in place so that now parents can easily access the catalog, and they can also log in and see their child's checkout history at any time. We've added a section to the policy that you're looking at tonight, which is the acquisition policy, so that we now can post our list online for 30 days for board approval prior to making purchases. We updated our websites to give a space for us to post those lists publicly, and we also confirmed that our challenge process meets the requirements of the law. So the timeline that we're proposing with the new acquisition policy would be that we would about twice a year, so you typically be once in the fall and once in the spring, we would post our list of books that we would like to purchase on the school website, and also make sure that you're aware that those are posted. And then that's when the 30 days starts. And so during that 30-day period, you have time to review the list. The public has time to review the list and give any comment. And then it would then be available to be on the agenda for approval, so that we can then go on and purchase those titles. And so that is where we are at this point. And so we're here to answer any questions you have about that new acquisition policy, and then just the changes to the collection development policy.
So I have a question about the approval process being posted online. How will that be communicated? Because I know that parents right now don't. I mean, this isn't part of the law. This has just been a newly enacted law, so this is not something people are used to having the opportunity to do. So how are we going to inform parents that that is something that they have?
I feel like, that could be something as simple as an announcement in the communique that just says our new list has been posted. And
I would just encourage that we create a policy or process for that, so that make sure people.
And the fact that parents can tell you which books they don't want their kids to have, is that in place now?
Yes, they can log in, and they can log in using their child's account.
Okay.
And they can search the catalog, and if there's a title that they would prefer that their child not check out, they can block that title, and then when we go to scan it, it will give us a message that says that the child's not allowed to take that.
Do you have any idea how many books or the parents have come in and said, don't let my child have that?
We haven't had any blocked yet.
Huh.
Hopefully that means that we have a really great collection and no
That's exactly what it means.
with it, right?
Yes. And remember, as we spoke last time, at the middle school and high school level, our middle school parents are given a form where they get the option to decide if they want their child to only have access to middle school or do they want them to have access to high school. So they've continued that as well. So that has been working.
I'm just curious, what is the response rate? I mean, is it high? Because I know that traditionally Westlake, we have an issue with people responding to requests for information. As a former parent at the school, or former
I think
students at
something, middle, that would be really our 6th and 7th grade families, and I think I usually get about 30 families that will say it's okay for them to check out for high school. They don't have to respond unless they are giving access, so they don't have to respond. So if they don't respond, I assume that they are just staying in middle school. Perfect. And then every once in a while, a kid who is not on the list will want to check out a book, and I'll just email the parents and ask them to fill out the form.
Okay.
Any other questions? Process is working. Well said. Can I get a motion to approve the Westlake Academy Library policy as presented?
So moved.
Can I get a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Y'all, thank you so much. I am so sorry I kept you waiting. So, Mr. Carroll, Dr. Ritchie, when we have guests, hit me upside the head so I make sure we get them up on so you don't have to be held on. I am so sorry. We're better than that. I'm sorry. Y'all have jobs. It's been a busy day, though. Okay, next, K2, discuss, consider, and act to approve WA Resolution 25-28, approving the Westlake Academy audit for FY 2024-25. Casey.
Hi there, y'all. All right, so tonight's action will be accepting the Academy's annual financial report, and it's the last part of talking about money for fiscal year 24-25 for the Academy. I'll provide a few tidbits on just kind of the overview of the process, and then I will ask our auditors who are in the audience from MGO to come up here and go through the report. All right, so the annual financial report was deemed to present fairly, and MGO, our auditors, provided an unmodified opinion. In their audit, there were 6 findings and no material weaknesses. The details of those findings are included in the report along with their corrective actions. Acceptance by the board tonight allows staff to meet the original statutory deadline in which we would be submitting the report to TEA. I also want to note that this audit is actually the first full 12-month fiscal year on the new fiscal year end date of 6/30. And it was also completed on an accelerated timeline because, as you recall, we didn't select auditors for this year until after the fiscal year ended. All right, and then just because whenever I'm up here talking about numbers with y'all, I am almost always talking about budgets. So just a couple of notable differences, help y'all connect the dots from the stuff that I'm usually talking about on the budget side to the annual report that is very accounting heavy and, again, only done once a year because it's annual. Budget versus the audit. Budgets are done on a cash flow basis, whereas audits are done on what's called a modified accrual basis, where we talk about when things are earned, not necessarily when cash changes hands. And then budgets as a whole are effectively a conservative estimate on how we plan on achieving our operational goals for a period of time, whereas the audit is the shore up. It's kind of the scorecard at the very end that talks about not only that general fund that we talk about all of the time, but all of the other funds that may not be talked about because they have restricted or very limited revenues. And then the last thing about audits that's very different from budgets is we have what's called book-only entries that don't ever show up in the budgets. So whenever we go to do all of the work of converting our financial statements into an annual financial report, a lot of what we're doing is effectively translating governmental accounting fund financials into a more business-like presentation. And so that requires recording certain things like depreciation that aren't true expenses in the sense of dollars going out the door that we would budget for, but do have to be incorporated into financial reports. And then talking about the process overall, if we're talking about fiscal year 24-25, this is a very long process. We usually start budget development for any fiscal year in January, and for the Academy with the new fiscal year, that means that we are adopting a budget in the month of June. The board for the next year then receives quarterly updates on the general fund with its operational budget activity to date, which includes encumbrances and transfers throughout the different line accounts. Once 6/30 hits, then effectively the finance department, along with the auditors, has 4 months to put together all of the backup schedules, do any kind of audit adjustments, reclassifications, all that fun stuff that nobody else sees because we hide in our little caves with our calculators and just crunch numbers. And then at the end, whenever we accept it, that's whenever we can talk about numbers are final. They won't be changing anymore. So if there aren't any more questions on kind of the overview, I'd love to hand it over to David Bullock, our partner from MGO, and Corbett Nixon, who is our audit manager. Okay, awesome.
Thank you, Casey. You guys, sorry for the long night as well. Thank you for being here.
No problem. We're used to it. That's our thing. Well, good evening, everybody. Mayor Reeves, members of the council, and in this case, for purposes of the Academy Board of Trustees, it's a pleasure to be here to present the results of the 2025 financial statement audit of the Academy. I brought with me Corbett Nixon, the senior manager. Lots of years of experience, especially in the school district's realm, and so he was a big key to the audit team we put together for this audit. So I don't know how in-depth you want me to go. I know it's getting late, so I'll go brief and then allow questions to dig into what you're interested in hearing about. But
that's perfect.
Just some high-level information. First of all, our responsibilities as your auditors. Our responsibilities to express an audit opinion on your financial statements, that the information in that report is fairly stated. That's the purpose of the audit. We follow AICPA audit standards, also known as generally accepted auditing standards. In addition to that, we also follow government auditing standards, but those standards don't replace generally accepted auditing standards. They supplement them in areas of independence, ethics, reporting on internal controls and compliance, things of that nature. So speaking of internal controls, the purpose of the audit is not to provide an opinion on internal controls. It's not to, it wasn't designed for the purpose of coming up with recommendations. However, as we evaluate internal controls for our audit purposes, we certainly report to you in the form of findings any of those deficiencies in internal controls that we think is important for you to be aware of. Those are our responsibilities. In terms of deliverables, we issued our audit opinion on the financial statements. That's included with your annual financial report. And then we also issue a report to you, those charged with governance. And that report is really, outside the audit, provides a little context and gives you an understanding of the things that were developed and occurred during the audit and the results of that. So that's the purpose of that report, and that's specifically for your benefit. Casey mentioned a little bit about timing. It was a very condensed time frame, I would say. Normally, we like to do our planning and some preliminary work before June 30th, and then give the team time to close the books, and then we come back out. We really did all of that in one foul swoop. So it was a continuous audit from some point in August until we just finished up the audit over the weekend. So so about 3 months' time, and so a very condensed time frame to get a lot of work done in a short period of time. So
We appreciate that.
yeah, and on both sides. I think the management and the finance team worked hard to meet these deadlines as well. Normally, we'd meet a little sooner in the process, and then collaboration is a big part of what we do. So when there's things that come up during the year, we ask to have that collaboration with our clients so that we don't need to wait till the end to research and identify matters. So it was mentioned in the overview, but we did issue an unmodified opinion, what we often refer to as a clean opinion. It's an opinion that there were no exceptions to it, no modifications, no qualifications. So that's the highest level we can provide as your auditor. So for all purposes, a successful audit. As part of that audit, we did report 6 findings that we wanted to bring to your attention that we'd like to have addressed. We didn't feel those findings necessarily rose to the level of material weaknesses at this time, and we'll continue to evaluate those and see how management responds, corrective action taken, and we're hoping obviously not to see those same findings again in the future, and we'll have to reevaluate and assess that when that time comes. But I'm more than happy to talk about those findings if you'd like to dig into those. In terms of required communications, the things that we're required to talk to you about are changes in consistency. So there was a restatement of your beginning balances. We did determine during the audit that the payroll wasn't being accrued on an annualized basis, but it was being on a pay period by pay period basis. So we did determine there was one more pay period that needed to be captured. And in order to make sure that we weren't counting too much payroll in the current year, we restated the beginning balance so we could focus on purely the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2025 payroll. So that was one change. And then in terms of any uncorrected or corrected misstatements, we did identify that compensated absences weren't being accrued. And then from management's perspective, they're either used or paid out, so they really don't have a big cash impact, so to speak. The standards do require, though, an assessment of provision for that for those compensated absences that may be used. And so we did believe there should have been a liability reported for that, but it was immaterial. So we decided to pass on that adjustment. Just wanted to bring that to your attention. And then finally, we're required to report to you any negative interactions, whether or not there were disagreements with management or things of that nature. And we're happy to report that there were none. We felt everybody here at Westlake has been very cooperative.
Kind of disappointing, but good.
Yeah, that's what we look for. Yeah, cooperation is always key.
Excellent.
And so that's really the key things that we'd like to report to you in terms of required communications. And then finally, just bringing to your attention, the generally accepted accounting principles, and that's the presentation that Westlake follows in terms of requirements, changes every year, changes from time to time. And so there are 4 new standards, 2 of them that were already adopted this year, and then 2 more next year. The 103 will have a significant impact in the presentation, and so that'll probably be a big discussion point next year because it'll be a change in how the information has been reported from past. So with that, I would be happy to answer any questions you might have.
So the $100 question, the TEA accountability report, tell me how that works and the timing of that. We send this audit into TEA?
Yes. That's, you want to?
Yeah. Help.
As far as timing is concerned, they've extended the deadlines on that. It was due, I want to say, on the 27th of this month initially.
Right.
Due to issues occurring at the federal level, that's been extended. So I think it's not until February now that it's actually due to be submitted. But that submission is done by Academy Management. Okay.
And Kelly, help me through that process. So we submit our audit, they do their accountability rating report. When do we get that back, non-government shutdown year?
I mean, I think I don't have the date because they've moved back the submission, so that's going to move back.
But do I have the mechanics right?
It won't be till the next. I mean, it's a while.
Okay.
Until the next. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, if it doesn't push.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions from council?
I have 2 questions on the statements. Casey mentioned that different fiscal. How did you handle that looking at the comparison to our year?
Yeah, well, the change wasn't all that drastic because the period of time that had changed was July and August. So you moved from an August 31st year end to a June 30th. So basically, you kind of moved out those summer months. So I don't think when we compare the numbers from last year's school year to this year's school year, they're really
or I should say the previous year, right? We were comparing the 2025 school year. So we didn't find that there was a lot of big changes as a result of comparing the 12-year period to the 10-year period. But we did a lot of test of details. So rather than just relying on analytics, we looked into payroll and we looked into, your big numbers on the balance sheet are the pension and OPEB numbers, really. You do have some cash in the bank and you've got some receivables due at year end, but really the focus on the balance sheet, the significant numbers are the pension and the OPEB. And then, payroll is the key area on the operating side.
You didn't go through any form of restatement.
Excuse me?
You didn't go through a restatement.
We didn't need to do any other restatement. Just the one for the accrual on the pay period.
Second thing, and I think this is important to note, financial statements now show a $600,000 revenue over expenditures. We looked at our last financial record, last financial by $100,000. Go through accruals and other things at time show that the academy has paid for itself. Whenever we talk about these things,
no doubt,
the academy is holding its own with all the revenue coming in.
Absolutely.
Well said.
One question I had is, you'd mentioned that because of the late sign-on, that this process was really compressed because you got onto the job late. Obviously, we have a contract with you for several years moving forward. You guys did get the audit done in time for the submission, the original submission deadline, which is great. What do you anticipate for this coming year? Do you anticipate having it done at an earlier time or just in time for the...
Not necessarily. I think the timing is going to be dictated by the amount of time available needed for the staff to prepare for the audit. The audit is could be relatively efficient. We probably get the key parts of that done within 3 weeks, and then we're doing the report for a couple of weeks. So it could be sooner. I wouldn't want to promise that. But really, it just depends on when the information is ready for us, and then we can get started.
But nothing that should prevent a timely...
And certainly, like the first year, we've all probably gone through audit changes. First year's tough, right? First year on a compressed, even tougher.
Right.
So we really do think.
Yeah, our expectation is that we're going to work with the team to determine the best timing of financial reporting, work backwards, and then we'll be having our planning discussions much earlier in the year. I think when we first started the audit, when we were in the field, was the very first day of starting. So I think that was really rough for people to have to entertain us while they're trying to get started.
Right. Any other questions? You guys did a great job. Thank you very much, and thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Can I make a motion to approve the audit?
I hadn't thought about that in a while.
Do I have a motion to approve?
Yes, I just made it. Can I have?
I'm sorry.
Can I make a motion to approve the audit?
Oh, sorry, you're way ahead. Can I get a second? Second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, TJ. A3, discuss, consider, and act to amend the Westlake Academy Code of Conduct to align expulsion parameters with board policy and the Texas Education Code. Dr. Ritchie.
So one of our board members last week said, didn't we just do this? And yes, we did just do this. So Ms. Bubert caught just a correction that needed to be made, and basically what happened was in our code of conduct that we had front-facing for parents and that we were utilizing at the campus level did not match exactly the wording and the stipulations in Chapter 37 of the Texas Education Code. So Janet helped rewrite that portion of it and brought it into alignment with the actual expectations of that law. So what you saw there in the red line version just clarifies exactly what would happen in those most egregious behavior issues associated with any student that might be enrolled at the school.
Can I ask a question real quick on that?
Absolutely.
So is that thing in the box that talks about the expulsion, that is word for word directly from the state, or is some of that our wording in there? There's one thing in there where it says that the superintendent or head of school, based on feeling that a felony has been committed, can expel the student.
Yeah, you want to speak to that?
It actually says, I think it says that. And that would sort of violate, actually, sort of due process, I would think. Right, but okay, so it did, I don't think it said recommend in there at all. It said it's the decision of, I believe. Just from recall reading that, right? I read every one of them. There were two in there. I'm going, man, that sounds like I'm violating the Constitution there.
No, all of
May result in expulsion. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
That's good if hopefully the parents understand.
Yeah, we can't do anything unilaterally.
No, but I'm just saying, but I read, the only one that really bothered me was that one right there, because it was like, if you feel like it.
And just for any reassurance that it might offer, nothing like that happens that is not under the direction of Janet's supervision. Anytime we see something that is headed that way, Janet, probably more times than she would like, is on the phone with us.
Yeah,
so.
and I can attest.
It's going to hurt you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Any other questions? Can I get a motion to approve the amendments to the Westlake Academy Code of Conduct as presented?
I'm moved.
Can I get a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Agenda item L, executive session. The Town Council Board of Trustees will now conduct a closed session pursuant to Section 551-0712 of the Texas Government Code for the purpose of seeking confidential legal advice from the town attorney, Westlake Academy attorney, for the following. The time is now 7:07, and I'll go over this again, pursuant to the provisions of Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code, and the Town Council Board of Trustees will now adjourn into executive session in accordance with the authority contained in L1, Section 551-071, consultation with legal advice the town attorney regarding pending litigation, Vertical Bridge versus Town of Westlake. L2, Section 551-071, consultation with legal advice from Academy attorney regarding Westlake Academy Affiliate Group, Westlake Academy Athletic Club, WAC. L.3, Section 551-0741, deliberation regarding personnel matters, deliberate the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties of a public officer, employee, Westlake Academy Finance and Technology personnel, and we're adding J.2, BRW Architect presentation. The time is now 7:08.
I didn't hear that. Could you repeat that?
That's why we video.
Okay, we adjourned and the meeting's canceled. Let's go. Okay, the time is 8:11. I now reconvene the regular session for the Town Council Board of Trustees, and the follow-up items I have is agenda item L3, deliberation regarding personnel matters, to deliberate the appointment and employment evaluation, reassignment duties of public officer, employee, Westlake Academy Finance and Technology. We're going to put together, waiting Kelly to work on a date to put together a workshop for finance and technology. That's the only follow-up I had. Any future agenda items?
Yes, Mayor, I would like to suggest that we schedule a work session jointly with the board of the Westlake Academy Foundation to discuss our vision and strategy for fundraising goals for the Academy.
Okay, we'll get that down. Thank you.
I think I need a second.
Do I need a second for that?
I second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No item added. Thank you. Mr. Carroll, you want to give a recap from council tonight?
Yes, sir. The two outstanding items we have, we're going to make sure that all state champions come to council meetings, right? So we're going to make sure that those athletic groups get recognized. And then the second was we tabled the rezoning of the development off of Aspen Lane. So we'll be bringing that back as well after we meet those conditions that were noted.
As well done tonight. Thank you. Kelly, any follow-up on the Academy side? Other than what I mentioned? Yeah, I think January's good.
I think January is good. It just kind of, that would help kind of on a quarter something. And I think that also moving forward, it would be good to reinstate doing the quarterly reviews from them. We used to do quarterly reviews from the foundation, and I don't think we did quarterly from the HOC and the
we started,
booster, but I think we did at least annually.
All of our affiliates, we need to do, I think, quarterly reviews. Just have them come in and say, tell us what they're doing. Like Booster Club, tell us how the season's going, money they've received and all that. And then, Dr. Rich, I think in light of today, could you give us an update in the next two meetings on your survey process that you guys, I know you're working on, what you're going to do on the parents? Okay. Okay, perfect. Any other comments from council? Okay, next meeting is Tuesday, seems like we're there already, December 16th at 4 p.m. Everybody have a great Thanksgiving. I'll see everybody at the tree lighting. For all the parents and kids that showed up tonight, thank you so much. It was a fabulous meeting. For everybody who gave us comments, we appreciate those. I now adjourn the meeting. It's 8:14. But it's only one.